Yo, what's happening, people? What's happening? And welcome back to Neeks Sports. We're live. We're in the cut for another match review, and it's Arsenal against Man City today. Arsenal losing 1-0 at the Etihad. Sorry, at the Emirates. At the Emirates today, as we did at the Etihad, I should say. Listen, no one wants to lose a game of football, and we'll get into the comments. Let me know what you thought on the game. Um, uh, and when you concede in the second minute, you kind of think we're in for a long evening. But Arsenal managed to, not concede anymore after that, and yeah, we move on. But yeah, guys, get in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the game. Were Arsenal too tepid? Were they wrong to sit back? Should they have gone for it a little bit more? Let me know. Did they have the quality to go for it a bit more? We'll get into that now, guys. Yeah, let's go. Yo, what's happening, people? We're live. We're in the cut. It's Arsenal 0, Man City 1 at the Emirates. We're here. We're in. So yeah, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into the comments. Let me know what you lot thought of the game. Was it disappointing? Was it expected? Did Arsenal play well? Did Man City just dominate the game? Let me know what you think for everyone that's watching online here. I mean, listen, you're playing against the best side in league football, Manchester City right now. Arguably, as Arteta said earlier on, the best side in Europe potentially, um, on a club record winning run. There was obviously like a minuscule bit of hope that Arsenal could get something from the game, but the reality is the way City are playing, barely giving up chances, and it's not just against us; it's against every single team in the league. Struggling to beat them right now, struggling to get anything from them right now, and they're on this destructive form ever since Spurs beat them. I arguably could blame Spurs for letting them get under this run, beating them and changing them as a side altogether. Shane saying a lot of people, including me, thought that it could be worse, but I think in the last 50 minutes, Arsenal should have went for it a bit more. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, like you'd probably take 1-0 at about 75 minutes, 1-0 down to City, and try and maybe go for it and get the winner. No one wants to lose. Arsenal definitely didn't want to lose to get today's game. But with arguably the biggest game of the season coming up next week, Thursday, against Benfica, you could argue maybe was a bit tepid going for the result. But at the same breath, he went for it a little bit in terms of the personnel. You throw on Lacazette, we put on Emil Smith-Rowe, put on Ceballos to give us a bit more going forward. Obviously, Louise came on for Holding's injury. So in terms of the personnel, I think he went for it. But in terms of the actual play, yeah, definitely we didn't go for it as much. Maybe we were still worried about the counter attack, but also did we have the quality to break through? Aubameyang didn't have a sniff against Stones and Diaz. Arguably, our best player, our best play were coming down the left-hand side from Tierney, and his balls into the box. Probably towards the end of the first half was probably like our best spell in the game. But yeah, overall, it's a loss, and you know what I mean. No one wants to lose. Arsenal done okay, but was holding. What was Hondu for that goal? Yeah, he let Sterling. He lost Sterling, I think, for the header. He was positionally okay. If you look at the position that he was in, it was okay, but the ball obviously didn't go that way, and I feel like he left it. He didn't attack the ball. Maybe if he tried to attack the ball, Sterling doesn't get the header on. Early on, I think there was a chance just before that as well, and he just lost Sterling a couple of times, and that's all it is. Sometimes, you lose your man for a minute or two, and that can happen. City will punish you. But yeah, Sterling should never have had that much space in the box at all. But yeah, man. Yeah, get in the chat. Let me know. Let me know what you look thought of the game. Yeah, disappointing. it's never good to lose. No one wants to lose a game of football. I predicted that we would lose, but by a slightly larger scoreline. So not surprised. But you know, what I mean, we're in this game. We're in this competition to try and win as many games as possible. I don't think this is one where we look back and say, um, we should have done better. Maybe towards the end, as you said, but yeah, throughout the game, I thought we handled City well defensively. Leicester had a couple of good chances. Cancelo arguably should have scored. But I'd argue maybe there's people arguing on social media that the game should have stopped when Holding was kneed the head and went out. Obviously went off with a concussion sub. Play should have stopped automatically, but John Moss let the play carry on. So there's a lot of talk about whether the game should have been stopped at that point. Obviously, it didn't matter in the end because City went on to miss. Although we'll wait and see what happens to Rob Holding on that as well. Shane says, I don't think City were at their best considering the standards they've set for the past few games. Yeah, they were a little bit tepid. I do think City. I think Arsenal's play forced City to be a bit more um, not as cut and thread straight through the Arsenal team. Arsenal sat back, put 10 men behind the ball essentially, especially when City had the possession in our half, and City just struggled to break Arsenal down. Now, because they had the 1-0 lead and they're so good defensively, you can argue that 1-0 for them is good enough for them to sit on. If anyone can sit on a 1-0 lead, it's Man City. So yeah, you could argue that maybe that they did a job on Arsenal today that they didn't even need to go and get the second goal. Damien's in the chat says I did predict Sterling will score. Yeah, I mean he always does against us. I think that's what 5 goals in 6 games now for Sterling against Arsenal. So yeah, not surprised that he was the one on the score sheet today. Although apart from his goal, I thought we did well. I thought Bellerin did well against him, 1-on-1. And when he was helped out with Pepe and El Neni there, I thought El Neni did okay as well. Didn't let him get hold of the ball and run at them too many times. But the first 10 minutes of the game, which was City's best spell, they could have absolutely destroyed us, but they didn't in the end, of course. Shane says Erdegaard was quiet and Aubameyang as well. Yep, I agree. It wasn't a game for a number 10 against Man City today. It was a defensive job, so it's not going to be, you're not going to get too many opportunities to shine. But when you do, you've got to go for it a bit more. I feel like you've got to just try and fed the balls through. They had a couple of chances to do it, and you take an extra touch and that's it. Your chance is gone against City. Had a half chance in the first half as well, where he maybe should have just gone for the volley instead of trying to control it. It was on his right foot, so maybe that was why. Maybe if it was on the other side, on his left foot, he would have got the shot off. But yeah, man, it's on his right foot, so yeah, he missed unfortunately. Yeah, disappointing from Odegaard. And yeah, as I said before, Aubameyang, another quiet game from him. I think he worked hard in terms of chasing the ball down, but never got a sniff in front of goal, which is what he does. Score goals. He never had an opportunity to do it once at all. It wasn't like Thursday where you can be angry at him for missing chances. In this game, didn't even really get in the positions to get any sniff at the Man City goal. So yeah, unfortunately, nothing doing for Aubameyang today. Quiet game. There's a Bernd Leno in goal. Was good. Made a good save against Gundogan, where Gundogan had a chance to put City comfortably ahead to go 2-0. He missed. He kind of fluffed his line. Well, we didn't fluff his line. It was a decent shot, but Leno made a good save. So in that respect, he did quite well today. Now, you can argue, people argue and say it's a dull game. It wasn't the best game of football. It was a lot more of just possession-based football from both sides. And I guess what's what you get. Sometimes you get two teams that both like the ball. You sometimes get into a possession battle all game, and I think that's what ended up happening here. But as I said, the main focus is Thursday night. You put in a decent performance, and I feel like this is a performance you could put in to say, we've done okay. and you can build on this. You can build on this. And again, in these big games, we're not getting outclassed in terms of the scoreline as we were before. When we were under Emery and Wenger, we sometimes go for it a bit too much early on and be beaten 3-4-0. So we're better defensively. Just need to work on trying to get to be able to create opportunities up front. De Bruyne didn't destroy like he normally does. This can be a game to build on, even though we lost. Yeah, I mean it's obviously De Bruyne's first game back. He got an hour, couple of good balls, but I think again we nullified him a lot when he went out wide, when he went through the middle. I thought Eneni and Xhaka did quite well in stopping him from dictating the game. Um, and yeah, I didn't. He had a couple of half chances which he put wide and high. That was it really from De Bruyne. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at him not being able to dominate the game. But as I said, maybe if this was De Bruyne in a couple of weeks or so, could have been different. Duke MCFC is in here. Come on, City. Duke, what did you think of the game? What did you think of City? I mean, yeah, from a neutral's point of view, if you could say that, you're 10 points clear at the top of the league. That should be it now, really and truly. Just City on just barraging one of just beating teams, whether it's 3-0, 4-0, or like today, the 1-0 victory. They just got something about them that they had a couple of years ago that didn't really have last year. Ruben Diaz, another good performance from him. I thought Fernandinho and Stones were brilliant today as well. Fernandinho was just making them little fouls and silly tackles that would just stop us from getting forward. Gundogan and De Bruyne didn't really have too much to do. Mahrez had a good 10, 15 minutes in the first half, but didn't really see him too much after that, which was good for us as well. But I mean, and Cancelo was brilliant all game as well, bursting forward. But yeah, as a defensive performance goes, like literally nothing. Edison could just chill that game pretty much. Tierney had an effort which was comfortably saved, but apart from that, Edison had a good quiet game, played some good balls going forward as well. So it felt like a comfortable day at the office. Now you could argue maybe I should be more angry and more irate. We didn't win the game, but this is what happens when you play the best team in the league and arguably in Europe. You lose these sort of games. You lose these sort of games. Realistic. Gunnar Laurie's in the building. It said we need to be better quality. So back the Ross manager up with it. Can't put this down to Arteta today. Yeah. There's agreement I have with that. It's not. I don't think it's necessarily Arteta's fault. I think we could have gone for it a bit more. Maybe you can argue that's about the tactics that he used, but it's difficult against City when they're so good. It's like you try to create chances and you struggle. You get nullified in there. So I don't necessarily blame the defeat on Arteta alone. I think the players didn't show enough to try and win the game. So that was probably the most disappointing thing for me in the game today. But yeah, disappointing that Pepe had another bad game, as Shane was saying. Yeah, quiet, very quiet, and on the ball. Tried to do a bit of skills, but nothing was working. Nothing was working at all for Pepe today. It wasn't his best game. Struggles a lot in these big games. Not the first time we've seen him struggle. Sometimes you need a bit of quality, and he just doesn't provide it in the big games at the moment. And he was out wide right. I know why Saka played on the left. It was to try and nullify Cancelo and Mahrez, and to an extent, you did, even though obviously the first City goal came from Mahrez. But I feel like we would have been better going forward with Saka on the right as we ended the game. But the problem was with Saka going on the right at the end of the game, he was bucked. He didn't have the legs. He didn't have the legs to take on City. I thought Smith-Rowe was bright when he came on, but again, scraps. So not much you can feed off when you're struggling and you're down there trying to get a goal. What other were there much other talking points than that? I mean, it was a tight game. It was a tight game that ultimately the quality showed from City. They ended up being the better side, and yeah, congratulations to them for the win, and they should really go on now to win the Premier League. I'm going to bring up a couple of match stats from the game. Bear me a second. I'll get it on here for you just to see the actual domination of City in today's game. It was it's looking very much domination from City. Obviously, they won 1-0. Three shots on target to our one, and that was Tierney. Barely did anything. Possession ended up being quite even overall. I think in the second half we dominated the ball a lot more. Started to play a little bit more higher up, but again, not enough to threaten City. City had 15 shots to our 7. Three on target. Arguably could have had more, should have had more with Cancelo. Um, more blocked for City than Arsenal. Interesting in passing, very similar as well. City dominated a lot more, but I guess it's a lot more small passes really. And then City obviously created the two clear-cut chances. As I said, the Sterling goal and the Cancelo one, which he should have scored. So yeah, it was quite tight in there. Not keepers really had nothing to do all game. Was quite even on the fouls, and the fouls won, and yellow cards. So there's a lot of parts of the game where it was quite even. Just an interesting stat: City making 60% of the tackles, and Arsenal making 37. That's where they're so good and underrated. Um, they were City are so good defensively. They make these tackles, Fernandinho and co. Why Fernandinho always plays against us and just has a great game, I don't know. It's usually Rodri in there. I think maybe that's probably why to stop our counter attack. Shane says our build up was good, and that's something that Arteta learned from Pep. Yeah, you can definitely see a Pep style of football coming from Mikel Arteta there as well. 100%, 100%. Wilson's in the building. He said that Aubameyang was awful. Yeah, again, not his best day today. Struggled a lot. Struggled to get a sniff in behind at all. Um, you know, it wasn't. I'm not as angry as I was on Thursday with Aubameyang. On Thursday, it was just horrible, like horrible football from Aubameyang, and missing chances. Today, he just couldn't get a sniff against the Man City defense. But Wilson, we both predicted a Man City loss, and that's true. That's duly what happened. Um, I predicted a 3-1 loss today, and yeah, we got beaten comfortably 1-0. So you could argue could have done more, but unfortunately, a City masterclass and City go 10 points clear at the top of the league before Man United play today. Um, Shane said he shot that Foden didn't play. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Didn't see Foden on the pitch today. But that just shows the quality that City have in the squad. Obviously, the City got a big game on Tuesday or Wednesday against Gladbach in the Champions League. So you'd imagine maybe Foden gets a start there, and maybe even Aguero as well. So yeah, arguably could have had a run there. Wilson says, "Why the hell is Arteta not using Martinelli? Absolutely baffling." Yeah, I thought he might come on. There was a period I thought he might come on. Obviously, he went for Smith-Rowe as in the number 10 and Aubameyang out wide left. Arguably, Martinelli should have came off for maybe Aubameyang. Um, Listen, I don't think it would have changed much really. The only way I thought it would have changed if maybe he started ahead of maybe a Pepe, and you put Saka on the other side. But yeah, listen, I'm not going to be too angry about that. I thought it would start, but I'm not going to be too angry about that. Yeah, no, Man City edge roller coaster, and I don't think anyone will stop them. Yeah, Man United are playing Newcastle in a bit, so could close the gap in the title race to Man City if you call it a title race. Um, yeah, it was quite late. I wouldn't say it's worrying that he was quite late because I felt like he was wanted to just see how these guys can go at holding City before you go for it. Sometimes you can go for it too early and get picked off. He held on and held on till he thought it was the right time, and it was still 1-0 when they came on. They just maybe didn't have enough time to impact the game. Lacazette and Smith Rowe. Cedric was dropped because he played a lot of games, since Tierney's been out injured at left back, and so I felt like just give him a rest. Chances are he probably come back into the squad for Thursday's game against Benfica. I would imagine. And Wilson saying Bellerin and El Neni were shocking. I thought El Neni did all right, to be fair. Like, I know it wasn't the best progressive football, but he works hard. He was winning balls back. Didn't really misplace too many passes. I've seen Partey have worse games than that. So yeah, I'm not too mad at at El Neni at all. But yeah, we got to bounce back. We got to bounce back. And as I said, biggest game of the season is next week against Benfica. Then we got Leicester, Burnley, Spurs, West Ham, and Liverpool. So still got a tough one to go. Still got to try and pick up points where we can, and we'll go from there. But guys, thank you for joining today. Please make sure you hit that like button on the way out. And if you're new around here, subscribe to Neeks Sports. As I said, Manchester United will be playing Newcastle now, so we'll see. We'll see what happens from that. Yeah, guys, thank you for joining, and I'll see you all very, very soon.